here live. Welcome to the Booksplosion. They both die at the end live show. I'm one of your hosts, Christine from polandbananasBOOKS.
I'm another host, Jesse from Jesse the Reader.
And I'm another host, Kat from Catty-tastic.
And we're Booksplosion. We host monthly read-alongs where we pick a book and we read it during the month, and then we come here and talk to you guys live and take questions. Right now we're taking questions on Twitter using the hashtag WeBooksplosion at the end. So send in questions there. We also have the chat open today, so we'll be looking for questions there, but since it moves pretty fast, you'll have better luck if you tweet us on the Twitters with the hashtag for the Twitters. I think we're all really excited to talk about We Both Die at the End. I mean, they both die at the end. Not only because we all really liked it, but also Adam's awesome, and I'm really excited to talk about one of his books in our Booksplosion book club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I have so many things to say about this book.
Me too. Do you want to kick us off? Or should I do a summary really quick?
Yeah, do a non-spoilery part, because I want to get right into spoilers with my kids.
Okay. Here's our non-spoilery section really quickly, because we're going to be talking about this in like all its spoilery glory. Be careful if you haven't read it yet. So you can stay for this right now. Okay, so they both die at the end. Elevator pitch here is it takes place in a world where there's a death forecast. It's called Deathcast, and like everyone who's going to die in the next 24 hours gets a call at midnight. That's just like, hi, you're going to die in the next 24 hours, just so you know. And then, like, you have those 24 hours to spend however you might like, or you might die before 24 hours is up. Like, you don't know when it's going to happen. So this 18-year-old boy named Mateo gets the call, and he uses this app called Last Friend to find someone to spend his last day with. And he finds Rufus, and they spend the day together, and it's really, really great. So I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. What did you guys give it?
Same. Yeah, I've loved all of Adam's books, and this is my favorite of his.
I've only read 2, but it's my favorite too.
Yeah, it was so good, and like it was so sad, but also so many like happy, uplifting things, and just so many great like ideas, and like they have so many conversations. Like it explores a lot of facets of death and dying. Like, is it better to know ahead of time? Like, is it better to be surprised? Like, was it better before Deathcast kind of things? Like, there's so much great exploration. The characters are fantastic. The story is so like heartwarming and tragic, but inspiring. It's just, I loved it.
I thought
I ended up giving it like a 4 out of 5 stars, actually.
Oh.
I really liked it, but I had like a few issues with it here and there, so I just couldn't like give it a 5-star, and especially because like I was comparing it with my love for More Happy Than Not, and like this just didn't meet that.
I was gonna say, did you love his other book better? Yeah.
Yeah. So I still liked it a lot, and it got me thinking so much about like death, and I loved that about it. So I'm excited to discuss.
Yeah, I like thought-provoking books. So I love the thoughts, and when the thoughts provoke me, like like to think more. That's what I look for.
It was like the first 4 pages. I had like 6 notes of just like thinking about like all the like discussion that it brought forth, because it was just like so interesting.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That is the end of our non-spoilery section. So if you're here now, you're gonna want to leave if you haven't read it yet. Okay? Then you can come back and chill with us.
Yeah, go read it. I definitely recommend it.
Yeah. Okay. Here we go. So kick us off with some spoilery thoughts, Kat.
Okay, so one thing that like totally blew my mind, like as soon as I finished reading it, because we get to kind of see. I mean, we don't see exactly how Rufus dies. It's a little bit like left off there. We can imagine, but he gets hit by a car by the person who he was on the phone with in chapter 1, like the Deathcaster who called him is the one who ended up killing him, and just the whole symmetry of how both of the boys interact with the thing that ends up killing them in the first chapter. Like, I just love that like mirroring symmetry. I was just like, oh my God.
On the same page as that, I really love that like Mateo starts off with like he wants to stay home because that's where he feels like he's the safest and like nothing can happen to him. But like in reality, staying home is what kills him. Like if he had stayed home all day, he might have gotten gas poisoning, like carbon monoxide poisoning, and already died. Like this being with Rufus all day like saved his life, like literally, not just like mentally. It actually prolonged.
Like how much of an impact the calls had on their lives, like especially when Rufus gets his call, he's in the middle of like beating the crap out of someone, and he knows that he could have accidentally gone too far, and the phone call like stops him from accidentally killing this person. And then like how Mateo, like he wouldn't have left his house and he still would have died. It was
Okay, I really also think like it really gets you thinking about, I wouldn't want to live in this world with Deathcast because it's just really, really scary. But also, like, Mateo's death was self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, the neighbor's going to come over and fix his stove. And he told him not to come over because he's dying today because he got the call. Like, it's mind-boggling and just really scary because so many of these people, like, kill themselves also because they get the call. Yeah. Like, so that could potentially be what caused their death.
Yeah.
So it's just horrifying.
It opens up so many places for your mind to go to think about, like, and there's so many, especially because we get like some interwoven stories in between and we get to see how other people react. Like there was the guy who blew up the gym because he's like, if I'm going out and taking people with me, and like even Victor, the death cast worker in the beginning, who was talking to Rufus and was like, I just got off the phone with a mother who, like, I had to tell her 4-year-old daughter is going to die. And then I had to send like an alert to keep an eye in case she's the one who ends up like killing her because of this. Like, I was really stressed and anxious while reading this book. Like, because it made me really paranoid too. Like, I was just, I could die doing anything.
Oh my God, me too. Like, I went out in my car and I was just like thinking just so many like situations. Like, oh my God, if I had gotten the call today, like, what would it be like? And it was really scary.
Do you think like them living in this world, there could be a way for them to like ask them not to send them a notification on the day that they die? Because like I wouldn't want to know. Like even if I lived in this world, I don't want to know.
Jesse, I was thinking about that. Like, can you opt out of the call? Because it sounds like you can't unless you're like a hermit and you live alone without cell phones and stuff. Because it feels like like in one of those movies when like if they can't get a hold of you, they'll call the person next to you because they like know they're there and then give you the phone. Like that's what it felt like.
Yeah.
And I love like the whole aura of mystery around how they know. Like how do they know who's going to die the next day? Where does that come from? We never find out because it's just kind of like the obscure like bit of kind of science fiction into it. But I really want to know. Like, what do you guys think? Like, what do you think?
I don't know. I kind of liked Rufus's theory that like it's like a 2 afterlife thing. Like they already died, and like this is like a intermittent like afterlife where they get to like say goodbyes and have like their goodbyes to Earth and then go to the next afterlife. Like I really like that theory. But because otherwise, like I don't know. Like how do they know? Where do they get this information? Like how do they call people?
Maybe it's a parallel universe that's 24 hours in the future that like feeds the obituaries from like the previous day.
Interesting.
That is a very interesting thought.
What I was just gonna say, I lost. Oh, how scary was that scene when they went to the graveyard and like it was like Ebenezer Scrooge in like the Christmas Carol. His tombstone is there.
Yeah. Oh my
God. His grave or whatever. It's like
it was just so interesting to see how little things in the world were changed in this death cast world. Like they had that like make a wish, make a moment thing, and like where you can tour around, and it's like a well-known thing that like Deckers are kind of free with their money because they're not going to need it anymore, and like you shouldn't hang around groups of Deckers because that means something's probably going to happen. Like,
gosh,
it's also fascinating.
Also, like Rufus's situation in general was just really scary. I can't imagine like just getting up one day and then your whole family gets the call and you don't, and just his whole mindset and like the fact that he has that like survivor's guilt, and it's with his family. It's not even like some other situation with a group of people he doesn't know. It's just, it just sounds.
And he literally couldn't do anything about it. Like, it's inevitable.
Yeah,
It's
and
like so devastating.
Yeah, and the fact that like his family kind of just gave up. You know, when they were like, they got him out of the car and they just like didn't even try to get out.
Yeah.
I mean, like that could have been what killed them. That they didn't try because they got the call.
Yeah. You don't know how much of it is self-fulfilling prophecy and how much of it is not. Because like people, it's so well known that like Deathcast has never been wrong.
Yeah.
So like if you get the call, like why bother? Like I wouldn't want the call. I gotta not know. I'd be too and be.
I feel like in that world, I'd throw out my cell phone and like just live,
go full hermit.
full hermit. Yeah, like that's so scary.
But then that's not a better option. Like I'm a hermit. I love being a hermit, but like you're cut off from everyone. Like no.
Well, okay, this is what would happen. You have to find somebody to go full hermit with. So you gotta go full hermit.
Gotta find a hermit buddy.
Gotta find buddy. Or like you gotta like get married, have a kid, then go full hermit. Yeah, it's all very
in a lot of situations though, it is really nice because they had like the aspect of, you know, older people in hospitals, people in intensive care, like when they get the notice, people who have like long-term diseases, like when they get the notice, even they've been like preparing for it, they can have the goodbyes with their family and stuff and have it like now it's so in this world, like it's so weird that when funerals happen, the person is like usually alive at their own funeral now.
I don't like it. I don't like it. What I was going to say is, how did you guys feel about the whole Tom Felton character? It was so sad. It makes like celebrity death's a whole another ball game, you know, because instead of being able to spend the day with his family or something, he's got to be bombarded with all the people who even know him at all, like trying to say goodbye and getting in the way of that.
Yeah.
It was just even sad because like he didn't even get to spend his last moments with the girl that was like coming to meet with him. Like he had to spend it with the reporters who were like writing a story about his last day.
Yeah. Like, with the colored hair. I was really hoping she made it.
I want to know how she dies.
Wait, did we see her die? I don't even remember right now.
Yeah, because she's the one at the end that Victor is driving to. She's the one with the fiance.
Oh yeah, I really hope she doesn't die. Like beats it. Like I was really had my fingers crossed for her, even though I knew it was a real call. I was like, but I hope she makes it through. Because when she made it through that bombing, like that was
she made it through three near death accidents. Like she fell into the street and a car like slammed its brakes right in front of her.
Yeah.
In the car crash with Draco Malfoy and then like and then the explosion. She was at the bookstore with them too.
Yeah, she was at the Booksplosion. She was at the explosion.
The Booksplosion.
It was a Booksplosion.
It was a Booksplosion.
A literal one. Was that a reference to us? No. Did you guys think, like, when we first heard Mateo's father's name was Mateo, did you think that, like, oh, maybe they...
Yeah, I thought that they...
I didn't even catch that. I didn't even realize his name was Mateo.
Yeah, when they go to the hospital, he's like, I'm here to see my dad, Mateo, or whatever.
Oh my God, I missed that.
Yeah. I was like, oh, maybe, like...
As I saw that, I was like, maybe the call was meant for his dad. Like, we're going to find out later, like, he has his dad's phone or something. Like...
I was, like, holding on to that hope throughout the whole thing, and then we get to the
here's the question. So, like, did you think he was actually going to die at the end, or did you think that, like, there was going to be some sort of twist where...
Like, it would make sense for his dad to die because he was in the coma, so I was like, okay, well, this would make sense if this is, like, one of the twists, but nope.
I thought that was going to be the twist, that, like, they were going to be out spending their last day together, and he was going to get a phone call from the hospital that's like, your dad passed away, and he's like, what? But, like, he didn't get the call, I got the call, and, like, connects it, and I was hoping for that, and it didn't.
I know.
I was just hoping that there's some way they'd, like, I knew Adam wasn't going to do it. Like, I didn't have any faith that
they were going to live at the end.
I didn't have any faith, but, like, you know, in the back of your mind, you're just, but, like, maybe. Oh,
but it could, there was the smallest possible, clinging that little bit of hope. Especially as you keep going through and you get to know them both more, and especially Mateo, who is just such a precious little cinnamon roll who doesn't deserve to die. Like, I
was surprised though, because like I wasn't super heartbroken at the end of this. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like it kind of softened the blow, like knowing what was coming.
Yeah, it did. I think the part where I like really got emotional was like when Rufus was talking about his family.
Yeah.
And when I think Mateo was just talking about when they took the little photo shoot at the house.
Yeah.
That part made me emotional. But like we knew that it was coming, so it wasn't that was gonna get you. It was the stuff in between.
Yeah.
It's just it wasn't like a heartbreak at the end. It was just kind of like a steady heartbreak throughout, because you're just like, it's their last day. Like, they're gonna die. They're never gonna get to do any of this stuff. When they're on the subway and they're like talking about like, remember the concert we went to and the tattoos that we got, and it's like the imagined like future that they might have had. Like, that was one of the saddest parts for me, because it was like, but none of that's ever gonna happen because you're both gonna die.
It was like really sad for me when like Mateo kept there was like these moments where Rufus was like, he's got to make the move, and like he kept not doing it, and I was like, you're gonna run out of time, Mateo. Like, what are you doing right now? But yeah, I really loved how we got to know them like in bits and pieces. I really loved Rufus's like whole Instagram thing.
Yeah.
I think it was like a really nice way to kind of memorialize his last day and show people all the things he did that day.
Yeah.
I love that they took a picture together like right before it happened, and like
a nice happy picture. And
yeah. It was so sad. I love the whole Luigi hat aspect of it. Like, he's like, this is who I want to be, but like I'm not. And then like by the end he like is that person.
Yeah. I think the thing that really got to me is when they sang American Pie together.
Oh,
yeah. I was like, I forgot the lyrics of that, and then they started singing "This Will Be the Day That I Die." I'm like, oh my gosh, really?
I like have tears in my eyes thinking about it.
I cried a lot during this book. Like, no like hard crying, but just like, the eyes watering, like a couple tears here and there. It was just so many like just sad, touching things, and so many like beautiful sentences too that like captured it nicely.
Yeah, it was so well acted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I really loved all the like little glimpses from other perspectives. Like it reminded me of Nicola Yoon.
Yeah.
Yeah. You get to see like it's like it's told in 24 hours. You get to see like lots of different perspectives and stuff, and see how so many things are connected. Like the boy that Mateo saw like bloodied and robbed in the street, and he gave like his shoes to and stuff, was one of Peck's like gang members who was gonna punch him in the face and then pause because he recognized him as like the boy that like saved him that day, and all the little things.
Yeah, and Tom Felton was the guy who used to write messages on like this phone booths and stuff about his girlfriend. Like that, it was just like so
very interwoven
like that. Yeah, it was really
and we see the two girls on the bus who find like the blind date book, and the woman who developed the Last Friend app was like on the bus with them. It was like they're like, oh yeah, people in New York are so nice and so interested in the app, and it's like her app.
And one of those girls was the girl that was really insensitive toward Mateo in the beginning.
Was that the girl? I didn't.
Yeah. He was like, I messaged someone else, but like they never got back to me.
Yeah, she messaged Mateo, but he never got back. No, that's not the girl who was being insensitive, because he talked to the insensitive girl.
No, but I think that they stopped messaging. Like, I thought that it was the same name.
Oh, was it? It might have been.
I mean, I could have been wrong, but like I thought that it was the same name, so that's why I like made that.
I did catch that she like had sent a message to Mateo, but he didn't reply.
Yeah.
I thought that was when he was gonna send the message. It was a little bit later, after the girl who was like really insensitive and was just like fascinated with death and like.
So Wendy
that conversation.
Maybe. Yeah, you know what? Maybe you're right, because like that girl wasn't dying, was she?
No. No. Yeah. Also, like that girl was like super insensitive and obviously just like wanting to talk to people. And I hate that conversation. Made me so uncomfortable because like Mateo was being so nice and like still talking to her, and I'm like, block her, block her,
Yeah,
block her.
like, why do dead guys always talk to me like this? It's like, are you kidding? Like, even saying that, like, what?
She just was in her own little bubble.
Yeah, clearly.
Oh my gosh, should we look at some questions?
Yes, let's look at the hashtag.
Okay, let's see here.
If you're watching this and you want to ask us a question, hit us up on Twitter using the hashtag #WeBooksplosion at the end.
Gosh, people are asking like, what would you do on your end day? Like, I don't even want to think about it.
Yeah, and that's why that made me really anxious while reading this book. So I was just like, if it made me think about like, if it was my last day, like what would I be doing?
Right.
And like,
one of the other aspects that I didn't like about this book is like, I don't want to think about dying, but it's like making me think about it.
It made me really anxious and paranoid. Like I'm like afraid to go outside.
I know, like I'm gonna die any day now.
It did make me think about it a lot, but I like how it was like a new point of view coming at death. That I don't think I read about in this way. And it made it like really fascinating. So like outweighed the paranoia for me.
Yeah. Like it didn't make me like paranoid and anxious enough to like make it a bad experience. It was just like a very present thing while I was reading it.
Yeah.
There's an echo. It's Jesse.
I'll be back.
Let's see.
Yeah, let's find a good question.
Which death was more harrowing for you? I think I don't know. Mateo's death was pretty sad.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Mateo's because like Rufus is a little bit like left ambiguous. Like we kind of know what happens. We can like piece it together, but
yeah, you definitely get hit by
Mateo's because like it was just so sad. Like, and you know that Rufus is in the other room. Like I thought they were both gonna die. That like I didn't know what was gonna happen.
I remember a specific moment now of being like horrified. I was like with Natasha, like the morning I had finished this, we were like going out in LA and we had to cross the street and she was like, come on, no one's coming. And I was like, no, we're so far back there. Let's just wait.
Is this book gonna make you change your Jersey ways of just going into crosswalks, running into traffic?
Oh my God.
The first time I was in New York, you freaked me out with that so bad.
Like, that's just how
everyone does it too. Like everyone just, they're like halfway through the crosswalk before the light tells them to go.
But yeah, that was really scary. And she was like, what are you doing? And I was like, do you want to know how they died?
Oh my gosh. Here's a question that you guys can answer. Did you enjoy the audiobook? Rufus's narrator gave me the chills, says Ashley.
The audiobook was so good. Like, it was excellent.
I started reading the audiobook because of Christine's recommendation. Like, I was just going to read the normal book because that's what I usually do. But then Christine was like, audiobook's so good. And I was like, okay, I'll try listening to it. And I did the sample, and it was amazing. Like, they had 2 great voice actors for the boys. And then I also liked the woman voice actor that they had to do, like, the narrator parts, like, in between. Yeah, audiobook was excellent.
Yeah, like just hearing their voices, like saying these words, was just made it extra gut wrenching when you know.
Yeah. They performed really well.
Like made it a little bit more real.
Adam's writing already is so like accessible and like real, and they just like really brought it to life.
Yeah.
I know we don't want to talk about dying, but Abby asks, would you want to stay at home and die in a mundane way or go out with a bang?
Ugh, both of those sound bad.
I don't know what I would actually do because I very much related to Mateo in this book. Like when he was like just staying inside, I was like, TBH, I'd probably be the same way.
You see, I'm definitely much more of a hermit, but I feel like if I knew it was my last day, I'd like want to get out and do something thrilling.
Yeah. If I knew it was, honestly, actually, if I knew it was my last day, I'd probably spend all day inside, like just writing and like getting my last like words out.
Yeah. We don't have to talk about it anymore. Christine's like, do you think that the theme of death should be explored more in YA? Asks Aaron. I'd like to see it explored more, but it's explored a lot. Yeah.
It's just you have to find the right books.
Yeah, and it's just like this is like explored in a really intense way, and I feel like it's more subtle in other books.
Yeah, a lot of other books are more explorations of like grief, whereas this they're like facing death throughout like the entire book. So it is different in that way. I don't know.
Specifically the grief. I like just my mind jumped to Roger and Amy's Epic Detour. That's like a big exploration of grief.
Oh, I was gonna say Second Chance Summer has
that's more like going into grief, like grieving someone alive. But like, so I was going into Amy and Roger. I was like, oh, this is gonna be a happy-go-lucky road trip book, and then it was like her dad has just died, and it's like literally she's trying to process the grief the whole time.
Gosh, we're getting so many questions of people just being like, what would you do on your last day?
What would this book be named if it weren't called They Both Die at the End?
Can we tell them why our hashtag is the way it is?
The what?
Can we tell them why our hashtag is the way it is?
Oh, why it's We Booksplosion at the end? Because I thought it was We Both Die at the End when I was writing it.
Yeah, that's why she keeps accidentally calling it We Both Die at the End.
Like my mind just thought it was We Both Die at the End while I was
that would work too. So
yeah, I mean, it's not like that far off.
yeah,
like alternate titles could be Rufus and Mateo's Last Day.
It could be like Dead End.
or something like Last Friend, The Last Friend.
Yeah, Last Friend.
Yeah.
That's like the last friend, and then you like find out why they're last friends.
Or like The Last Day.
Honestly, like I love this title so much.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to change the
I
title.
wouldn't want to change it now. I think this title is a big hook. Like it was a really cool PR move to call it They Both Die at the End.
It captures the story so well, and it like tells you like what it's about, and
it's basically like you get the call and your characters are both going to die at the end. It's kind of like meta in that way.
Like you start your book, you start the day with the call that they're both dying. And
and you still have that little hope, like maybe they won't, just like they do. Like Mateo's got that hope in the back of his mind. He's like, maybe we could be the ones to beat death.
Denise asks, would you pay for the VR experience Mateo and Rufus did? If so, what VR experience would you try?
No, it was $200 for stupid.
Yeah, it didn't seem like it.
It's not an option when you're not going to be able to have any more of it. And also, they didn't know it was going to be stupid. They thought it was going to be cooler.
Well, of course, make a moment makes it sound like it's going to be stupid. Like, let's make a moment. It sounds like so commercialized. Oh shit.
I would like it if it was like that ride at Disney World that I'm like blanking on, where you travel the world.
I hate that one. Wait, are you talking about
I love it. Soaring.
Oh, it's a small world?
No, the soaring.
Soaring.
Oh.
That one felt like I thought it was gonna be so real, but I was like, we're just on a stupid camera.
It feels real to me. I love it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'd want to go do something cool or like spend time with people and do fake experiences.
Somebody asked, what's been your favorite Adam Silvera book so far? Kat's read all of them, right?
I have, yes.
Okay.
And there's 3, right?
Yes.
Because his 4th one with Becky is coming out this year. Yeah, I've read all 3 that are out, and this is my favorite. I think each one I've liked more.
Okay.
The history is all you left me. Like I had a harder time getting through that because it was dealing a lot with grief, and it was really like sad all the time. I feel like this had much more lighter moments. Like it was kind of like a roller coaster.
Yeah, that made me want to see like more of a happier contemporary from Adam.
I feel like we're getting that with the
With
Becky and Adam book. Like Becky is gonna pull that out of Adam. Like
I think like
books are
that's not
so
something that
happy and cute. Like she can't let him kill them.
yeah. That's not to say that like I don't think his books are important, because like I think they're super important because they do deal with like the hard hitting topics. But I want to see something like happier from him.
But no, I agree. Like this book, like I definitely think History Is All You Left Me, and even more happy or kind of sadder than this book. Like this book is like this book is just very like melancholic because it's so tragic throughout. Like we're prepared for their death. Like death is all around them. We hear all these sad stories of other people dealing with death. Like that's so present in this. But because it's so present and like life is still going on and there's still so much happy moments and like they still have so much joyous time together, like it really balances it out. Like this, I feel like, is Adam's happiest book yet.
Even though it's still really sad.
It's still really sad and they both die at the end.
Like it was so much happier. Like I can't tell you like how upset I was reading just like every chapter of History. Like,
yeah.
I had to like read 2 chapters at a time, and then I was like, I need a break. Let's see. I was surprised that their deaths were so fast. I mean, like death usually happens quickly without any notice. When
is there a sci-fi element in his second book? What's it called again?
History Is All You Left Me.
Yeah,
No.
is there a sci-fi? Okay, no.
No,
Okay,
but
somebody.
we have like alternate timelines, so
Okay.
there's like a different. It's not like a straight through chronological novel. Like we shift back and forth a lot.
Okay.
let's see.
We can just do you wish his sci-fi elements were more fleshed out, or do you like it ambiguous?
I like it like this. Because it's not really about that. It's about
It's just like a simple framing to like change the rules of the world a little bit, but it's not like any sci-fi technology or anything. And like there's still wonder around it because there's still wonder around so many things in our real world. Like we still don't know how death works and like what like
And when it comes down to it, this book is really about living, not dying. It's about using your time and not waiting for things. Yeah.
Oh, there was this one quote. I wish I'd saved the page.
There are a lot, and I was like, oh, I'm audio.
There's so many. I was like, oh, that's so good. Like I want to write that down. Did I write it down? Oh, a lot of the like pages dividing up the story had amazing quotes too. Like my favorite one was let me find it here. A ship in harbor is safe, but that is not what ships are built for. I love that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was sad.
Yeah.
Trying to let's look at the questions.
I have another sad-ish question. Okay, if you knew you were going to die, would you tell your friends or family, like when Mateo didn't tell Lydia he was going to die?
God, I was like, you have to tell her. I was like really mad when you did that.
Yeah. I would tell my family. Yeah. I'd want them to know, and it'd be hard, but
yeah, I'd have to tell them, but I'd feel really similar to Mateo in that like you don't want to have that conversation and you don't want to like face that and deal with it.
Yeah.
But I'd have to tell them.
Yeah. It would make it so much harder if you didn't tell them for them, you know? And I know it's not about them necessarily, but you do have to kind of calculate that in.
Even Mateo, like once Lydia does know and like he gets to see her again, like he's glad that he like called her and like reached out to her again, and like the veil's been lifted and stuff. And
I really liked at the end the way that Mateo talked about love with Rufus, and that like, you know, people just like wait to say these things. Like there's like a timer. I forget exactly. The quote was so good.
It's like we're headed in that direction anyways. Like we're on that path. So
yeah,
like,
we're on that path. But there was also something about just like that. There's people say that you can't fall in love in a day. That's ridiculous. But like,
oh yeah, I actually marked that.
Yeah, it was really good.
Because I even was like, oh, I love that.
Oh yeah, people have their timestamps on how long you should know someone before earning the right to say it. But I wouldn't lie to you. No matter how little time we have left, people waste time and wait for the right moment, and we don't have that luxury. It was just like,
like you guys know that like I don't like insta-lovey in books, but like this, like for some reason this book did it so well, and it just didn't feel like insta-love because they just were connecting so much throughout the story. And like,
it didn't feel insta-lovey. Like
the thing with insta love is that it happens when like characters have like one scene together and then like the next day they're like, oh my god, I love you. Like people who spent hours and hours and hours talking and discussing and connecting, and that's a completely different situation.
Like it wasn't instant. Like at the beginning, like they were like really paranoid about each other, and they got to know each other. Like they know.
It was a gradual like insta love, which I liked.
It wasn't insta love. Yeah.
No, it's not. Yeah, it's not.
Yeah. It has that whole factor of like they're in such a unique situation where like they're being so open and honest with each other. Like they're telling each other things that they wouldn't tell another person because of the situation. So they grow so close so fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like you could feel, like you feel the relationship growing as you do the day with them.
It's more than a bond over the fact that they're dying. Like they're connecting on so many different things in their lives, and that's what I really loved about it too. Like their connection. It's so cool to see.
Yeah, and they're growing together too, like in different ways. They're like letting themselves be who they want to be, like instead of
I feel like especially Rufus was like challenging Mateo to do things. Like he was getting him to sing, getting him outside. It was just like
even Mateo was challenging Rufus, like just to face his grief, face what happened with his family, so he can move past it.
And just like Mateo was such a good influence on Rufus too, because like, Rufus has been having a really rough time, obviously. And here he meets Mateo, who is like actually such like a good, pure person. Like Rufus, like, oh, like people like this do still exist. Like,
yeah. Oh, it was really good.
Yeah. Someone asked, could you tell us something you didn't like about the book?
I did have like
what were your issues?
Yeah, what were your issues, Jesse?
Like, well, one of my issues was like the sci-fi element. Like I wanted a little bit more from that. But just like more explanation as to like how it all worked, because I kind of like having like a picture of that. But then I had like a little bit of issue with the pacing and like the second part of the book. Like I just wanted things to move on a little bit because like I felt like they were dragging. And Mateo was like kind of driving me a little bit crazy because like I felt like he was wasting Rufus's time a little bit in the beginning. I was like, come on, let's go, like say your goodbyes and let's move on, kind of a thing. But
I think listening to the audiobook
I'm sure that helped a lot.
Yeah, it helps with all.
Yeah, because I didn't feel any of that. Like I'm like struggling to come up with things that I didn't like.
It's okay.
I don't like that everyone died, but like that was the whole point of the book.
Yeah.
My critique is that everyone died.
I really wanted one person to live through it to prove them wrong.
Yeah. But
how would I get into audiobooking? What you do is use our Audible affiliate link and get your free audiobook for free. No, this is a great one to start with if you haven't read it yet. But I have a whole video full of great audiobooks to start with. If you haven't audiobooked yet, it's called Top 10 Audiobooks. You can look through it.
Also, in addition to the ones that Christine recommended, because I watched that video and I got no recommendations because I'd already read all the books.
You haven't read Scythe. You have not read Scythe.
I have it on audiobook though. I bought it because of you. But I was gonna say, if you're new to audiobooks as well, maybe try listening to an old favorite and like try it in a new format. So that kind of like eases you into the new format because it's a familiar story, but in a new way, kind of thing. Which actually I feel like might be a good segue for our book of the month for next month.
Say that.
Are you guys ready for this? I'm so excited for next month. We're doing an epic reread of one of our faves. Kat, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Clockwork Angel! Yes, 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 yes.
We're reading Clockwork Angel by Cassandra Clare. Sorry.
It'd be so much fun to talk about it because, like, we're gonna catch things that we haven't caught and all that crap. How many times have you guys read this already?
I have only read this series
And
once.
Natasha's here.
And I read them all together. So I read like books one,
Wait,
two.
once?
I've read books 1, 2, and 3 in the course of like a weekend all together when book 3 came out.
Oh my god, what? You didn't read them as they came out?
No, I didn't. When I picked up this, when Clockwork Princess came out, I'd only read City of Bones.
Oh my god.
And then I read this trilogy, and then I went back to.
I forgot about this.
Yeah, I know. It was so long ago.
Guess
I
how many times I've read it?
once.
One.
I read it the day it came out. And also, then I read it again before Clockwork Princess. And I felt like that was kind of recent, but like it really wasn't.
Yeah, no, that's when I read them all, and that was like 4 or 5 years ago.
This time, though, I'm going to do the audiobook. I'm so excited because I've never done a Cassie Clare audiobook. What about you guys?
I
I
might
have-
audiobook it as well. You'll have to tell me if it's good.
I audiobook a majority of her books, actually.
You have listened to them?
Yeah, that's like the forum that I usually go for. With
Oh,
her
and they're good?
Weird.
Yeah. I like them.
Okay, good.
Did you listen to this one or did you read this one?
I listen to this.
Listen to it. You haven't even read this book with your own eyes.
I listen and read, especially with Cassandra Clare. I have to do that. Like I have to listen and read to like really keep myself in the story. So
Wow.
yeah, dedicated over here.
I am so excited.
I am too. And for our live show, we're probably gonna do like the first half just talking about this book. But the second half, we're probably gonna get more into the series in general since we all have already read that. But yeah, now is a great time to give the series a try if you haven't read it, or you can reread it. Join us for a read along. It's gonna be great fun.
Guys, I might re-book talk it.
Really?
Because I book talked it when I was like really stupid in my book talks. Like when I first started vlogging, and I feel like I'm like, I love how it's purple. What do you guys think of like the sheen? I feel like I said shit like that. But I'm pumped. This is my favorite trilogy of all time.
Yay!
Probably.
You also want to go ahead?
I don't know. Jesse, you finished Obsidio. How was that?
We're not gonna talk about this. I liked Obsidio.
Wait, no, don't say anything.
I liked it.
Don't say anything.
That's all I'm gonna say is that I liked it.
Don't say anything.
Kat, we'll talk later, okay?
I'm only like 50 pages in.
I know, but I
Okay.
don't think everything I say is spoilers, so.
Now I can't look at the chat because people are gonna put Obsidio spoilers. I'm
Oh
already.
my gosh. Okay, do we want to talk about our May book of the month as well?
Oh yeah, we have our main book of the month ready.
I have mine right here.
I don't.
Our May book of the month is. Are we ready to announce this? Is Christine coming back?
I don't have the book yet.
Okay, I can't get it. It's at the bottom of book piles.
Okay, well, I have mine super handy. So, okay. Our May book of the month is The Earth, My Butt, and Other Big Round Things by Carolyn Mackler. This book came out like 15 years ago, I want to say. And it's getting a sequel that's coming out. I have that book too. They sent me an arc. And May 1st, the end of May, right?
Yes.
The sequel comes out the end of May.
Yeah.
They reissued this book. I actually think I read this in high school.
Oh.
What?
I
There's a
started-
Pulitzer Prize on it.
it's a Prince, not a Pulitzer. It's a Prince honor.
There's a prize on it.
It does. It has a prize.
Oh my god, that means it's really good because Scythe is excellent.
The Dreamer, and it's all the books. The Hate You Give, Jason Reynolds books. Those were just like the 2018 books that were announced. But yeah, I read the first chapter of this, and it felt so familiar. And I'm like, I think I read this when I was in high school and like forgot about it.
Oh my god, that's so cool.
Yeah, that'll be really interesting because it came out in like 2004, I think, like when I was a sophomore in high school. So that's wild.
That's cool.
But yeah, so this is our April book and May book.
April,
May.
March,
June?
June. We're not planned. Oh, well, yeah, we are planned.
Do we want to say?
Yeah, maybe we should. Yeah,
Let's say it.
let's do it. I'm announcing all the months. Mine's over here. I have it.
I don't have it, so you guys can go get your
I
copies.
have
I'll just stay here.
Oh, fudge. Mine's
Tell me when you're ready, Christine.
Don't announce it yet because I'm trying really hard to get it.
I'm not. I said I'm waiting for you.
Everything's collapsing. I can't. Okay. Okay, I got it. Ready?
Okay. Yeah.
June, we're doing the sequel to the second book, and Kirsten White's trilogy. Oh my god, I just blanked on. Now I Rise.
I'm like, I'm already holding them. Say it, Christine.
It's the sequel to And I Darken. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah. And I Darken is book 1. We did our Booksplosion book of the month in like summer 2016.
2016 we did And I Darken for our July book of the month.
Yes. And so for June, we're doing Now I Rise, which is book 2 in the series.
Yeah.
Because book 3 in the trilogy is coming out in July. I almost just hit myself in the eyeball with this book. Sit down.
That way we'll all be ready because I haven't read Now I Rise yet. So, and
I haven't either. I've only read the first book, and we all really enjoyed this.
Yeah, the first one was so cool.
Yeah. It is a slower paced series, but like it's such gorgeous writing and so atmospheric, and it's just like it's really good.
And the characters are really great.
Yeah.
Interesting. It's a sibling dynamic that we kind of revolve around. Like obviously everything else is going on, but the core of it is about these two siblings. And
it's also a loose retelling of the life of Vlad the Impaler.
Yeah.
That Vlad is not a boy, it's a girl. So her name is Lada, and so has the same like bloodthirsty ambition, but she's a woman in this world and has way less agency and like power. So lots of interesting dynamics.
It's really great. Like she's kind of like an anti-hero almost, but
yeah.
We're
But
totally rooting for her.
A relationship with her brother that's like she loves him and wants to protect him, and yeah, really interesting, really like complex character studies and stuff.
It's like historic fiction also. It's really cool.
It's not fantasy. It's just like the historic side. It feels like fantasy-ish, but there's no fantastical elements.
Yeah, there's no fantastical elements. It's kind of like Game of Thrones without the fantastical elements. Like, and I forgot what I was saying. Oh, it's just really interesting because I know nothing about this area of history, you know?
Yeah, the Ottoman Empire and stuff.
Yeah, it's like a whole different culture that you get to learn and experience through reading her books. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so to reiterate, this is next month, April, our Clockwork Angel reread, okay? And then someone do May.
Cat.
I'm the only one who has it, so I guess it'll be
My Butt and Other Round Things by Carolyn Mackler, which is a contemporary. Can you give us a little like one sentence elevator pitch?
You start talking about the other book, and I'll read this.
And then Now I Rise, we have for June. It's the second book in Kirsten White's And I Darken series. So if you haven't read And I Darken and any of that synopsis that we just said sounded interesting to you, definitely hit that up. I also have a book talk if you want like more accurate discussion about it. Like I had just read it then. But I'm really excited about this and I think it's going to be really great. I've only heard amazing things about book 2 and we know book 1 was amazing.
Okay, so a quick little summary of this is that we're following a 15-year-old girl named Virginia who feels like a plus-size black sheep in her picture-perfect family. And her best friend has moved away and she's like dealing with like finding her own place, like a coming-of-age thing. But then a shocking act causes the Shreve's family facade to crumble, and Virginia's world spins out of orbit. So, not sure what happens there. Most contemporaries are kind of vague in that way, because it's like coming of age, and I feel like it's more about the character. But just from the title alone, it sounds like it's going to be like a funny, like relatable kind of read. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah. And just like, I just remembered the last time I read this, and it was actually like in 2012, and I read it in the shower. And it's all, you can see the bottom. You look at it, do you see how it's all cringy?
Oh my God.
Did you drop it in the shower?
You know what? I had this weird ear thing where like I couldn't even hear throughout one ear. And so I was like, I had to stay in the shower for like an hour for like 3 days. And I was reading this in there. And I was just like standing like this reading to try to get whatever was in my ear to loosen up and get the F out.
Oh my God.
So that's our lineup for the next 3 months.
Yeah.
We're never this prepared.
No.
Last year? What are you talking about?
We have been, but.
Yeah. But
we usually announce our like fall lineup. But I feel like this is a lot of book of month announcements at once.
I'll have to put them in the description so you guys have a little list.
Yeah, and we'll be announcing these on social media and stuff. This is just like your first exclusive glimpse for those of you who
Exclusive announcement. Thank you guys so much for coming to our They Both Die at the End live show discussion and reading along with us this month. I hope you had fun. I know it's called They Both Die at the End, so it's not like the fun kind of fun. I hope you had a good time, and I hope you join us next month for Clockwork Angel and in the coming months for the rest of the lineup.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time. I'm Christine.
I'm Jesse.
I'm Kat.
Oh, and Booksplosion is live on social media now again. So I have the link to our Instagram and the Twitter below. I'm going to come back on Instagram this week.
Also, we're going to be at Y'all West End BookCon this year, so come hang out with us.
Yeah, Y'all West.
We're going to have, hopefully, some merch. Not merch, but like
postcards,
stickers, stuff like that to give you guys if our orders actually come through.
Prince ever sends us our order.
I dragged them on Twitter. They're gonna get us our order.
Okay. Anyway, I'm Christine.
I'm Jesse again.
I'm Kat again.
We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.